Okay, so this week I was a little bit concerned because I had this feeling like I just wait for some sort of. Carly says you're gonna have to watch on catch up. Just wanted to say hi, and Gussie's as I'm excited about this one. Oh, bless you. Oh, never mind. Well, hopefully it delivers when you watch. And hello, Adam, who's just joined. So I was a little bit worried about this one because like I felt like energy was a good topic, and then like no ideas came to me during the week as to what to talk about, and then thanks, mate. And then yesterday I was just really exhausted, and just could barely sort of. I've been on night shoots all of last week, and so I couldn't really. I just didn't have any energy yesterday, so I was a bit sort of, in front of the TV eating crisps, that type of thing, and I was a little bit worried, thinking I've had no inspiration about today, and I also feel so tired. And then today, I thought to myself, at least get up earlier than you did yesterday. Because yesterday, I don't think I got up until 2, which, given that I was on night shoots, isn't actually that late. Because we finished at, I think, like 1 in the morning or something like that, 1 or 2 in the morning. So, but today I thought, well, you weren't on a night shoot last night, so get up. So I got myself up. Wait, let me just check my crib sheet. Oh, gosh. Ryan, yes. Maybe I will just use the handle so I don't have to keep checking names. But yeah, Ryan, he's saying about how, nights do that to you big time. I'm not really used to it. I haven't done nights for a really long time. Anyways, but my point is that I decided to, rather than reference of how I felt, I decided to get up and do what I thought would be a good thing to do to transform my situation, basically. So I got up, even though I just could have stayed in bed for like another 3 hours. So it's probably about midday. Just trying to slowly recalibrate back to sort of daytime, being around during the day sort of thing. And I went to on the treadmill for 40 minutes. And even when I got started on the treadmill, I was feeling really sluggish and just really sort of kind of down in a bit because when I feel low energy, I get really down. I don't know how it affects you guys. But then by the end of it, that had, transformed into something else. I felt more awake and alive, and then, had a shower and that, and, had a nice bowl of porridge rather than anything unhealthy, And that action shifted my state to the point where I was able to start really thinking about what possibly we could talk about today. The reason I share that is because I think that, that's basically my story about my energy since last night. So I think sometimes we go with what our energy is rather than take the opportunity to change it so that we can achieve what we want to achieve. Because I had a bit of an insight when we, over the course of doing these discussions, this idea of like fake it till you make it, in terms of like doing things and then allowing your emotional state or your energy or whatever to change because you did the thing, rather than waiting for your emotional state to be what you want it to be so that you can do the thing. So so that's why I started with that, because I was just like, how's this thing going to happen? And then I was having this experience. I was like, this is actually quite interesting in terms of how this thing is going to happen. So let me just say hello to a couple of people. So the Blue Knight 88 has just joined, and Adam says hello, good evening. Ryan says, all right, I read that. Amelia says, I get up at 2 and I'm never on night shoots. Well, it's the weekend, that's fair. Citizen Joke says, to have energy is all about right mindset. We all have energy always. You just have to trick yourself to use it. Steve gives a thumbs up. I don't know if that was to me or that comment, but yeah, thumbs up. And Ryan says, got to sort the kids out. Well, all right, okay, he's got to go. Carly's struggling to leave. Let me just check. Martha agrees. More 46. Right, Phil says he's on nights at the minute. As it's lambing time. Oh gosh, you work on a farm here. So start at 8 to 8 a.m. 7 days a week. I mean, working nights is a whole other discussion, because that is, I'm learning a lot about myself and what that does to the body. So whereas the thoughts that started to come to me, and as always, feel free to chip in. Well, you are anyways, you know the drill. Chip in and just, you know, respond as you, or ask questions or whatever as you need to. But what I realise is we're all everything. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. Everything's got an energetic signature. That was the sort of thread that I pulled on when I started thinking about this morning. This afternoon, is that everything's got an energetic signature. We all have an energetic signature, and we've all got an antenna that picks up the energetic signature of what's around us and what's in us. So we know when we're feeling low in energy, we know when we're sensing a weird vibe of somebody else, we know when we can, I think that humans at the moment, we can deal with gross examples of energetic signatures, but I think sometimes maybe one of the skills that we need to acquire is to start to be able to read the more subtle things, because I think literally everything gives out some sort of energetic signature that we can potentially read, but it's a case of training ourselves to listen and to not necessarily react off what we're experiencing, because it is just energy. It doesn't necessarily mean a good thing or a bad thing. It just is, and train ourselves to, you know, be able to read these situations, or read the world, essentially read the universe in a more whole way. Let me just go back on your comments. Amelia says, exercise releases endorphins, which are produced in the central nervous system. This is similar feeling to taking opioids. Biology, A level for the win, right? And then Adam says, you just motivated me to do my living room workout. Now do the workout and keep listening, Adam. Ben says, just drink a lot of coffee. Oh, I'll talk about that. Well, we should talk about that. Wax pusher, Andrew. Energy jewels or energy aura. I'm not going to necessarily distinguish the two, actually, Andrew. I know that, you know, energy in terms of joules can be measured, but also probably the energy that is coming off of someone, though you could probably measure it in some way also. The meaning is what makes it seem a little bit woo-woo. The meaning that that person's got a bad energy or a negative energy, or that person's got a joyful energy. Obviously, those are just qualitative terms, but you can probably, if you were to, you know, I don't know how scientists would do it, but, you know, there's probably some way of measuring those things. So I wouldn't necessarily distinguish. Amdram's got to go to bed. No, got to put the kids to bed. All right, see you later. And Adam says, now doing lunges with weights while you speak. Very good. All right. So, when so I don't know where to start, because I've realised that there's so much to this that I'm like, I don't know, I'm so unqualified to speak about this. So all I can do whenever I feel like that about a certain topic, especially as I picked it, so I have to sort of push through, is just to just only speak about what I know. Yes, I'm gonna unique. I'm gonna talk about chakras and stuff like that in a sec. In fact, it sort of ties in with what I was about to. Yes, Steve, that's exactly what I was going to do. I was going to talk about an experience I had. So if you're familiar with Reiki, it's a sort of energy work that is, I think its lineage is from Japan, I think. And it's basically a way of working with the body to heal ailments, balance your energies out to give you sort of more of an equilibrium. Some people believe in it, some people don't. I got the alignment, so it's not even something you can train to do. You just get aligned so that you can channel Reiki energy and use it to work with somebody. I'll just tell you what happened, because for me, this gave me such an understanding about how energy works. I see you guys are making a lot of comments. Let me finish this and then I'll come back for sure and read your comments and respond. So I did the alignment and I started practicing and like just working with people, and I felt like a real novice. So I'm just sort of, and then but I became aware that sort of thoughts I was experiencing thoughts in my head that weren't mine when I was working on people. So I started feeding back to them saying, okay, this is what came up. This is what, does that mean anything? And then also while you're doing it, you learn about different parts of the body. I can't remember exactly now, but like the throat is to do with either conversation or your voice wanting to speak out. Ears are what might be being said about you. Third eye and all that intuition. Anyways, and then also, one of the shoulders was mother, one of them was father energy, the knees were like grandparents, blah, blah, blah. So I would just report back to people, and a lot of times, because I was practicing every day, I worked in this big office, and I said to people, look, I want to get trained in this, I want more experience, so like let me practice on you. So I just did it for free, like do like little 20-minute sessions or whatever. And there was a couple of examples which I'll tell you about very quickly, which for me sealed the idea that we're all transmitting energy, and we've all got the ability to perceive it. You might call it psychic or whatever, but I think it's just that our beings have an energetic signature that's been built up over our whole lives, and that's basically what psychics and all that, I think that's really all they're just picking up on. So this one guy, I was sort of doing a treatment, and I got down to, like, my hands were sort of around his knees, and I just got this weird thing about his grandmother and, you know, him being naughty and something to do with flying. And I said, listen, none of this makes sense to me, but you know, I fed back to him what I had experienced, and he just started laughing. And he said that when he was little, his grandmother used to look after him, and he would try and jump out of the window because he thought he could fly, and obviously he got in trouble for that. So that was kind of, I didn't feel, when that happened, I didn't feel like, oh, I've got the gift. All I felt was, it was already in him. The information was already in him, because as we go through life, I think life just changes our energetic signature. I don't think we've got this consistent energetic signature from baby to our deathbed sort of thing. I think it's constantly changing. Guys, what's up? So that was one, and then the next one was that I was doing a treatment on somebody, and I was around his heart chakra. So I was like, your heart energy is like all over the place. This is Monday morning before we started work. I sort of had arranged to meet him, and I said, your heart energy is like all over the place. It's really, really strange. And he basically told me that a very good friend of his had been in a car crash that morning or overnight and died, and that friend happened to be my boss as well. So that's how I found out my boss had been killed in a car crash. So happy days. So that for me just made me see that it's real, because I didn't know anything about what happened to Phil. I just picked up something from this guy and, fed back to him what I'd experienced, and then he told me what had happened, and it sort of, that completely made sense. His heart energy was like big squiggly. That's the only way I can describe it. It just felt like squiggly all over the place. So yeah, I mean, this happened a long time ago, G Unique, so like it's all good, it's all been processed, but my bigger point is that it's all in us. And so when you encounter somebody, I think that we've all got the ability on a gross level to pick up, you know, this stuff that's all already present in somebody. Does that make sense? Let me just go back and just see what you guys have said. So Andrew says, I think both fluctuate though. So judging someone on their current energy is only judging them on a momentary criteria. Absolutely, Andrew. I think you're bang on, because like that guy that I just described, his energy would have been all over the show, and it was just in that moment that I happened to, I mean, I'm sure his heart energy isn't like that all the time, or his general energy isn't like that all the time. Mark Sevenboy joins, hello. Ben says, with positivity comes productivity. So if you have a focus that creates positive feeling, you become more inclined to be more productive. Yeah. Or, like I said, sometimes if you're not feeling it, because you can't have you can't rely on positivity. Or, hang on, let me put it another way. It doesn't serve you as well to rely on positivity to be able to get shit done. Sometimes you feel shit, but like, you know, for example, if you're a parent, you don't go, oh God, the nappy needs changing, but I'm just not in the mood. Like, you just do it, you push through, and then, you know, maybe something magical happens and you're just like, shit, why am I complaining now? And you connect with your child or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, if the parent had waited until they were feeling it, like, there would be a stank in that house. Guz Khan has just joined. Hello. And Paul. Hello. Richard Bunting has also joined. Joaquin says, my wife was a hypersensitive personality. She could feel too much all the time. In the end, she had to learn to focus on one thing at a time and then choose the one that made her happier. And I think that's one of the problems, or not problems, challenges, let's say, of being a creative, is that we're pretty sensitive to the world around us. And so I don't know if you were there that time that I was talking about, you know, having to energetically zip yourself up, because sometimes that's necessary, because you know humans only perceive a tiny percentage of like the information that's out there. It's all energy out there, but we can only perceive a certain bandwidth. We can perceive the material world. We've got that down, and we can maybe sense a vibe. We can see colors, you know, that type of thing. But there's so much more of this energetic spectrum. Maybe it's infinite, who knows? And if you can even perceive probably 5% more than other people, that's probably too much. You know what I mean? That's probably how broad the energetic spectrum is that's available to us. Steve says, I have so much to say in response to those stories, but so little typing stamina. Maybe, I don't know, you know, short circuit it, like bullet point it or something. G Unique says, I've been told several times by mediums that I have the gift. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, to be honest with you, I think we've all got the gift. That's what I'm kind of getting at, is that, you know, you might not be the most sophisticated person, but not you, but one. But we've all got this capacity to, you know, when you like walk into a room and just feel like something happened just before you got in there. You know, it's things like that, you know, that we've all got the capacity to pick up certain things. And energy is all around us, you know, it's not like you have to focus on it to really see it, or there's only a bit over there, and it's all around us. We're constantly stimulated, and the brain has to choose to focus on certain things so that it doesn't get overwhelmed, actually, because probably that's a little bit what madness is. You know, is just is basically being overwhelmed by the information that is out there, because there's a lot, there's too much. Not too much, there's just a lot. Ian, welcome. You got a note from your mum, very good. Amelia says, I see something happen in my church when we pray for someone. For example, I was praying for a lady who was holding back stress and was worried about her job, and we were able to pray on it. Yeah, I think that prayer is I mean, look, the thing is, what I was going to say as well, but that's a good segue into it, is that everything we do emits an energy into the world. And so, you know, I think the lowest form of our energy that we can emit is probably our emotional state. Actually, I'm not sure, I'm guessing now, but emotional state, that's a transmission. Our thoughts, those are a transmission. Our words are an even stronger transmission, and then on top of that, our actions are even a bigger transmission, and then our habits are an even larger transmission. And I think it was Margaret Thatcher that was said, be careful of your thoughts because your thoughts become your words, be careful of your words because your words become your deeds, etc, etc. So a prayer is a transmission. Now, not you, Amelia, but one may or may not believe in God, but a prayer is a transmission to the universe to say, you know, ... whatever it is that you're praying upon. G Unique says, everything has energy. It's whether we choose to be open to it. Choose to be open to it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that's one of the things of mastery, of like becoming one of those human sort of traits that one needs to master or could master, is learning how to be open to certain things and closed to certain other things. Because I don't think a lot of people have a huge amount of choice in the matter. I don't think a lot of people are making conscious choices about the energy that they let into their lives. An example is like, I'll give you an example of my own that's come to mind. Is like, I used to watch this show called the Wendy Williams show when I was in the States, and I find actually, like, when I was watching it, I was thinking she does a lot of celebrity gossip, and she tells it like it is. Like, she'll say the unsayable things, sort of thing. Like, she would have probably said something wretched about Caitlyn Jenner, that type of thing. But it's so funny that, it keeps you engaged, and she's got a huge fan base, and she's now in a 15 millionth series of this, or season of this show, and I'd watch it every day, but slowly, and I couldn't help it. Like, if I sort of, would every now and again like scroll around the channel, but I never found anything that I wanted to watch as much as at 4 o'clock or whenever time she was on, as I wanted to watch Wendy Williams. But as time went on, I just realised that actually I don't like the way she talks about people. I don't think she's a positive person to be engaging with or listening to. But up until that point, I couldn't really help watching it. Like, I used to watch TMZ, which is which used to be on straight after Wendy or something like that. But that was like celebrity, but it was like low, like Z-list type celebrity gossip TV show that was like kind of addictive. So I'm not sure how much consciousness people bring to what they allow into their lives. It's like being addicted to a particular food or a particular drug. Those energies aren't really good for you, but people are just like, yeah, but I want to feel good, or whatever it is. Amelia says, I think it is based on things that we may have both experienced and relation to that event. Say a bit more about that. I'm not sure what you mean. Adam says the scientists are studying the pineal gland, and it's a sure sign that science is crossing over to spiritual belief. I def get what you're saying. Yeah, I think it's really important that science doesn't dismiss, I'm going to just use the blanket term spirituality, because there is a sweet spot where neither needs to be negated. And when they can start to look at spirituality and religion even from a scientific perspective, and when religion can allow scientific beliefs to not to feel undermined by scientific belief, then we'll really be getting somewhere as a species. Because for me, I always think it's important to think, well, okay, I get what that religious person is saying just happened. I'm not denying that that's what they think happened, but from a scientific perspective, what could have just happened? And not in a, oh, well, it's just neurons and electrons, but really, what could have possibly happened in this, when you felt the Holy Ghost, or, when this prayer had an effect? Like, what was going on? I think that's a really interesting place to look at and find a balance and a way that all these things can sort of come together. Paul says, my therapist said that a lot of my angst was a result of being overstimulated. Interesting. It was important to streamline the input where possible and manage the response to the stimuli. I mean, I think that's brilliant, because, and such a good point, because I can just imagine like being overstimulated, creating anxiety. Like, where I'm in a hotel at the moment, and round the corner, I'm near Manchester Piccadilly station. I didn't realise the level of homelessness there is in this town. It's like, Andi Bannum, dude, what's going on? But there's a particular sort of energetic quality as you're walking down, and I feel kind of stressed, because probably for the same reason that you're saying, is there's just this wealth of stimuli, that there's trams, there's just shoppers, there's cars, there's buses, there's shoppers, did I say that already? There's people begging, and that sort of makes you just feel like shit, like, why are there so many people? This is terrible. So there's all this stuff going on, and when I get back to the hotel, I went out earlier and I was sort of like, you know what I mean? Like, when I got back in, and it's because of the energy out there. It's nothing to do, I was not in danger in any way, but there's something, especially as I've come from indoors, quiet, look, this is my space, you know what I mean? Like, for now, and then you go out there and it's like, so yeah, I completely get that. Andrew says, I do think that no matter how perceptive we are of others' energies, our perceptions are entirely coloured by our own energy. In that instance, absolutely. And that was another thing I was going to say, Andrew, you're spot on, because we think that, I mean, this is one of the issues with the human condition, is we always think that we're over here objectively observing what's going on over there, when actually we over here are wearing, blue, rose-coloured, yellow, whatever you want to call it. We're wearing sunglasses, tinted sunglasses, but we don't get that. We go, no, look, everything's blue. And then somebody else is wearing pink sunglasses, and they're like, no, everything's pink. And then we try and objectively report back on the world and respond to the world, thinking that we're having this objective experience. Oh, his energy was weird. When really what's happened, what could have happened, is that your energy combined with his energy gave you the experience of his energy being weird. So we have to be really careful that we don't, award ourselves this sort of objective observer title when actually we are, if not sort of seeing the world through tainted or, subjective, from a subjective standpoint, we're even affecting what's going on out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe somehow I created the trauma out there. Not obviously, I didn't make anyone homeless, but it's a combination. There's an emergent quality out of me meeting out there, and from that comes, oh, it's stressful. Paul, Wendy is hilarious, but she's naughty. She does not talk about people nicely. Steve says, so what are you learning about the energy of this group and the flowing conversation in light of your concerns expressed about you have a lack of energy in the week? Well, first of all, I think, Steve, that's a brilliant question. I felt like, one, I have to take some leadership in the sense of take ownership of my state so that I can be in a place that I can deliver this thing. Because there was part of me thinking, maybe this is it, maybe this is the last one, maybe I should cancel this one, or all these kinds of things. And I thought, no, I made a commitment, and I sort of enjoy doing them as well, and I enjoy sort of like being here with you guys, and the fact that we sort of built some momentum. So I just had to take ownership of my state and see what I could do to transform it. In terms of the energy of the group, I mean, the only thing I can really say is that I just love how on point and on topic everybody is. I think it's just like, to me, it's like super inspiring that, everyone, because as I've said before, if I were to do this on Periscope, it would be a completely different vibe. In fact, I went on Facebook and did a live chat, and I intentionally didn't make it like this. So I was just basically shooting the breeze with people, and Carly came on actually, and she said, God, it feels completely different. Like, not in a bad way, but it just feels so different, because the energy of this is really about sort of opening our perspective up to a bigger, broader version of ourselves in the world and how we interact with it. And you can't, we build up a particular momentum, I think, over the course of this thing, all of us together, that when people come in halfway, sometimes it can be a little bit odd for them. Do you know what I mean? Because the thing's on rails now. So it's a long answer to your question. Paul says, but true, her energy didn't make me feel good. So Tommy has joined. Hello, Tommy. And this name got me before. Let's see if I can figure out. I'm not sure. Anyways, welcome. Amelia says, it made sense when you were talking about walking into a room and understanding a person's feelings instantly. Okay, very good. And Dorcas 12,100 joined. Welcome. G Unique says, I take the view that we're made of the same materials as stars and therefore part of the universal energy. Not only is that a view, that's a fact, dude. We're made of stardust, which is awesome. Mark Semboy says, do you think people's energies have a range? Twice my wife has known I've been injured while at work within minutes of them happening. I should imagine that people are once you're married to somebody, I should imagine your energies become intertwined. And I was on a program once, a workshop, where the guy who was facilitating it basically said that who we are on an energetic level expands way beyond our physical body. And so therefore, people, by that rationale, people perceiving energy would be able to pick up information like that about you. You hear it all the time. People saying, I woke up at 3:00, an hour later I got a call saying my nan died, or something. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. They're so in tune with, because when you're with somebody, when you're, either with family or you're romantically involved or friends, you become energetically entwined. There's no two ways about it. So I'm not surprised at all that your wife has sort of perceived something, and women are very perceptive energetically. But I'm not surprised at all that she picked something up. Steve is reading a book this week called oh yes, you mentioned this, The Spirituality of Imperfection, Storytelling and the Search for Meaning, which is looking at the spirituality beyond Alcoholics Anonymous. They basically say, Craig has joined, hello, you cannot expect to beat alcoholism without the spiritual element present. Great book, fascinating. Oh, I see, interesting. Amelia says, what are your views on crystals and that kind of thing? Amelia, right, okay, so good. I'm catching up on the comments. So I was going to talk about energy clearing, Amelia. And I think the crystals thing is a really good example of things that people can do. Look, the thing is it depends how available and there in the world you want to be. But I think that things like crystals, I think things like I'm deliberately, for what we're doing today, burning a candle to help my energy, because it's got this beautiful aroma which is really calming. And I had a matcha tea, again trying to, working with my own energy so that I can be available for this conversation. So if they're working for you, if any of that stuff works for you, I've got some crystals next door. If any of that stuff is working for you, then it's working, and it doesn't matter what other people think. I don't think there's any prescriptive way that you need to be about these things. If it doesn't speak to you, then it doesn't matter, because your energetic profile means that maybe crystals don't resonate, or crystals do resonate, depending on what's going on with you. And just because someone says it'll work doesn't mean it will. Like I've many times I've had people sort of recommend to me, oh, you must go to this massage person or this energy worker or this, and I go and I'm just like, ugh. No, I didn't feel that, because I'm who I am, and I'm going to find the people that work for me. So if something like crystals works for you, then yeah, man, you've got to do and use whatever you feel is going to work for you. There's some belief systems that probably don't go in for those sorts of things, but I would say that means that those things just aren't for you. Same as a non-Christian is not going to be bothered about eating bread, even if you called it the body of Christ, because they don't subscribe to that. But a Christian, obviously, that means a lot, and it may have an effect, may have some sort of spiritual effect. So I think you've got to just do what works for you. G Unique says, he says, to Mark 7, boy, I'd say yes, and our energy frequencies can change from day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute, bro. Mark 7 agrees. And Citizen Joe says, Well, you send out a good vibe. Thanks. It's inspiring. Anyway, I choose to be positive every day. It lets me feel my energy. It lets me feel my energy for me. Feel. Right. Lets you feel. Yeah. Very good. And Martha says, I accidentally discovered you on YouTube and was definitely drawn to your comedic energy, especially in that relationship stuff. Resonated with you. Very good. So what else? What else can I tell you about? Yeah, so that's right. I think, because I've got a few notes, but I don't necessarily have to work through them in order. I think what's really interesting about these conversations is they do get their own momentum, because I don't know if you guys can feel it, but they do sort of get a flow kind of going as well, which I think is the collective, something that we as a collective, whoever, it's often moving parts, different people at different times, but that we create that. And it can also end up being a little bit odd for those people who sort of parachute in halfway through. I mean, they're not to know. They're probably just going, oh, Andy's live, let's see what's going on. They might not know that it's this actual thing, but it's become a thing, hasn't it? And I think that's energy as much as anything else. Like, who you work with and the team that you've generated with the people that you work with, not team as in the individual parts, but the phenomenon called team out of your work colleagues. Or who is it that works on a farm? Your vibe with your animals and, everyone that works on the farm, that's a thing, that's a proper phenomenon that has its own energy. And you go to one farm and it'll probably feel super tranquil and peaceful and gorgeous, and you go to another farm and you can feel the stress of the animals, sort of thing. So, I'm just enjoying that we've created something. I don't know what. Another thing about, on the tip of, getting a couple of thumbs up, very good, thank you. Another thing on the tip of like energy and sort of managing your own energy, I think he's like, we've talked about this before, but like about what we put in, not just put inside ourselves as it were, but like also what we consume basically. So food is a huge one. I wish that we were all more conscious of the food that we put in, like that we consume, because each thing we eat has an energetic profile. It's not just about being healthy, it's more about really taking on the fact that if something has been heavily processed, it's been stripped of its alive energy. Like if you know, people talk about raw diets. I'm not necessarily an advocate for that, but I am an advocate for having food that's alive, that's living. Do you know what I mean? Like, how good is an actual apple compared to sort of pasteurized apple juice? But both of them serve a purpose, and both of them are better than having a can of Coke. But we've got so little consciousness around food, and we've allowed corporations to feed us this dead food, basically, in the shape of chips and crisps and cakes and pastries and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not saying don't eat that, but I'm just saying let's start to have a little bit of consciousness, because that stuff has an energetic profile as much as an apple does. And you know, the saying, you are what you eat, you're literally constituted of the food you've been eating. So if you've been eating crap, do you know what I mean? It's harsh. Hey, Stamp Radish, hi. It's a harsh thing to say, but I mean, and I eat crap too. I mean, I literally just finished one of those big bags of Tyrells or whatever, and I was thinking, because they're fancy crisps. No, it's okay. But actually, it's not. It's crap. But part of being a grown up, I guess, is that, you know, we have to start thinking about our well-being in quite a sober way, because for me, I liken, you know, being really conscious of the food that you're eating as a form of sobriety, which not all of us want to do. It's like not drinking. Like, we want to lose ourselves a little bit when we have a drink. Like, I'm not talking about a glass of wine a night. I'm talking about, you know, when you just have a few. And it's exactly the same with like processed foods. Is we want to lose ourselves, because think about how good cake, pastries, chips, fried stuff, how good that makes us feel, and how we vacate a little bit. Steve says cake equals Zeds. Does make you fall asleep. And I like how your emoji in your way, short circuit in your comments with emojis. Andrew says he loves broccoli. I love broccoli. Amelia is a vegetarian. I eat alt from local producers. However, cheeky McDonald's is fabulous. It is. It's a problem. I watched Carnage yesterday, the Simon Amstel film, and it was really good. It was basically, if you haven't seen it, it's a BBC. It's not still on iPlayer if you're in the UK, and it's basically. It's a documentary set in 2067, as though we've crossed this like epoch, is that the right word, where we no longer eat meat, and we think of meat as this like disgusting thing that our sort of, you know, previous generations used to do. It's really well done. And Ben says clean eating gives you so much more energy than processed food. Plenty of colour and vibrancy in each meal makes a huge difference. If I eat any fast food, I feel low down to the you feel low down to the empty carbs. Absolutely. I had a burger the other day, and the following day I did have one beer with it, but I felt really hungover the next day, not because of not an alcohol hangover, but just from all the processed food. But I sometimes get in this mindset where nothing but a burger will do. And it's for comfort. I know exactly what it is. My comfort food isn't sweet food, it's savoury. A naughty, savoury dish always makes me just vacate a little bit, but makes me feel better. Citizen agrees, you are what you eat. Mark says, agree. You can't out-train a bad diet. That's what they say. Like, if you want abs, like 80% of abs is made in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. But I'm not even talking about having a aesthetically pleasing body. I'm just talking about what you're, you know, we're talking about everyone's got this energetic profile or signature. If you want to raise your raise your vibration, then the food is one of the ways that you can do that. G Unique says we've been brainwashed into handing over money to be poisoned, basically. Amelia says, right, I have you got to go do a roast, lovely. And Steve says, G Unique, yes, it blows my mind how much that is true. We have been brainwashed in a way but I mean, if you watch this Carnage film, he talks about how that was basically done, how we've basically been seduced with this stuff. They've made meat not look like meat so that we're more willing to buy it. Because if you had to watch the slaughter of a cow, right from, the stun gun in the head, right through to carving it up, and, probably a lot of people wouldn't. I mean, some would still, some probably would do it themselves, willing to do it themselves. But for those that wouldn't, I think there'd be a few more vegetarians. I really do, if we had to watch the whole process. This isn't about being vegetarian, vegan, or not eating meat or any of those things. It's just about being conscious of the energy that we're putting into our body, because that raises your vibration. Meat, I think, lowers your vibration. Processed food lowers your vibration. And, ultimately, it's not that it's right to have high vibrations, but higher vibrations, energetic vibrations, that's where your happiness, joy, sense of being, sense of belonging, elation, connectedness, enlightenment, they're high vibration things, they're high vibration states. You don't get to be enlightened if your energy is low, is your vibrational energy is low. Lower energy vibrations are things like shame, guilt, disappointment, sadness, anger. Anger has got a bit more energy to it, but sadness, frustration, all those things, they're low. They're low vibrations. So if you want to feel joy and all the rest of it, you got to raise your vibration. You got to manage what you consume. That means the media that you consume as well, which is why I was like, Wendy Williams, I'm done. It was why I try not to watch an entire news bulletin now. I just listen to the headlines and then I turn the volume off, unless they're doing and finally stories, you know what I mean, then the sort of feel good stories, which is why I don't read newspapers. Which is why I try and manage, how much I go on social media, well, Twitter basically. And I scroll very quickly past on Facebook. I try and scroll quickly past anything that's like political, because it's never going to make my day better, and I'm not going to feel enlightened. I'm just going to be like, okay, so there's still shit things going on in the world. Air, even quality of air that we consume. So you got to get to the sea sometimes and just be by the ocean and breathe in that sea air. It's just beautiful. The quality of the water that we drink, although we don't want to start, encouraging each other to use plastic bottles, but the quality of the water that you drink. If London has got good tap water, some cities have great tap water, others not so much, I think, then it's okay to somehow find a way to consume water that's in a better state, or use filters or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just all these things that we can do to manage our own energy level and raise our vibration. Type of exercise we do, do more body work type exercises like yoga or something like that is going to change our energetic profile, raise it. And just because we raise it because we've done a yoga class or something, it could come back down again, once you go out onto a busy high street and it's all crazy and stuff. But at least you're starting to train your body to be able to experience those higher vibrations rather than languishing in the whatnot. Also grounding ourselves. I saw this thing about earthing. You may or may not believe in this, but like walking on the earth barefooted, like either sand or grass or something like that, can have all kinds of amazing effects on the body, like biologically. So there's things that we can do to sort of look after our energetic profile so that we can raise our vibration and have a more fulfilling experience of life, if nothing else. You know what I mean? Let me go back. Steve says, here in America, it's truly disturbing how much. Oh, yes, America is, very much. America is basically organized so that the corporations feed the society. They say that whoever controls the grain controls the world, and I think that's most true in America. G Unique says, remember we used to be told that milk builds strong bones and teeth, and we now know that that's not true. Absolutely. I'm weaning myself off dairy currently, actually, because again in Carnage they were talking about how cows get artificially inseminated to produce so that they continue to produce milk. The calves are taken away from them, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not down with that. So I'm trying to find alternatives. Steve says the food is full of corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, and it's pure toxin. Absolutely. Paul says, I heard somewhere that in about 50 years eating meat will be as frowned upon as smoking is. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, one of the things I think about meat is, because I was wrestling with myself, because after watching Carnage, is like, oh God, I really want to do the right thing and stop eating meat, but I really enjoy meat. And I started thinking, you know, is one of the problems with our consumption of meat is that we don't experience any gratitude for where it's come from. Because back in the day, I should imagine that a cow was quite a prized thing to have. I'm talking a long time ago, or a goat or something like that. And that maybe, you know, it didn't produce as much as they currently do because of industrialization. And therefore there was a sort of gratitude that, oh, the chickens have laid eggs, the goat has produced milk, thank God, sort of thing. And we would say grace over our food, or you know, whichever religion you were in, maybe there was an equivalent of grace. But now we just sort of go to Tesco's and we sort of pick up the mincemeat. And I hate it when I see people just throw food back onto the thing. I don't see it all the time, but I just think there is no sense that came from anywhere. Even if it's vegetables, just throw it back. Oh, that's not what I want. And I just feel like maybe one of the big things that we're no longer doing is being grateful and remembering where our food came from. I think meat should be way more expensive than it is. I think they should farm it properly. And I'm not saying, if the farmer is still on here, I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong, but I think that we as a society should appreciate what an animal is, what it gives us by giving up its life for us to eat it. And therefore we shouldn't try and short circuit the process by giving them antibiotics, by giving them growth hormones. Meat should be super expensive. That's all I think. But anyways, I think it's weird that it's so cheap, especially like when it's been processed. Like, why is McDonald's doing a $1 or £1 menu burger? Like, why is it so cheap? Paul says, Amelia says, I like Ellen instead. She is an amazing woman. Yeah, Ellen's got a nicer vibe. Amelia says, come to Dorset, don't mind the cows. Great walking by the coast. No, it is, definitely. Martha says, the energy appeal thing also might draw us to those we might agree with. Case in point, I completely agree with most of the things you've said. Kind of like the universe reminding me others exist. They do. Martha also says to keep being myself, I suppose. Yes, there's nothing else you can do. What can you do? The only thing I suppose about being yourself is that I would say is that it's okay to work on oneself also, that the self that you are is not the self. It's like that old saying about, you know, if you put your hand into a river, the river that you put your hand into is not the same river that you take your hand out of. And that's what being a human being is. We have this idea that we're this constant, but we're not. We are constantly changing and evolving human beings. And, you know, burdening ourselves of the stories sometimes, or the unproductive ways of being that we have, there's no harm in that. That can be the new self that you are being with other people, like being authentically with other people. Paul says, I was in the Cotswolds a few months ago and I walked barefoot on the dewy grass for the first time in years. I had the most vivid dreams that night. Oh my God, that's so cool. I'm going to try it. I'm so down for doing that. They say like do it for an hour or something, and it can completely transform your sort of biology, not on a sort of gross grand level, but like, you know, what was I going to say? Just about flying, because one of the things that I've noticed, you know, I do travel a lot, and I've noticed how discombobulating it can be to fly, particularly long haul, and one of the things that I think is that when you fly, especially long haul, you lose connection with the earth, because even if I'm sat the 15th floor of a building, the building's still connected to the earth, so earth energy is still going up into the building and up into me. But like, if you fly, you are completely disconnected from the earth. It's so unnatural, and I am convinced that is part of what is the problem with jet lag. And in fact, I was talking to somebody about that, and they said, "Oh, do the earthing thing, walk around barefoot, and you'll sort your jet lag out like much quicker than, you know, if you weren't to do that." So I'm like, solution. Ben says, and I'm the same, Andy. I've stopped reading publications because they thrive off brainwashing us by trying to promote their own racist, fascist agendas, which only bring hatred. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the media, whether they're doing it intentionally or not, is really divisive. So yeah, I do try to avoid. Andrew says, whoever controls the spice, I think you'll find. I don't know about that one. Ben says, others rather than going off our own beliefs. I'm not sure what that means. That's sort of, maybe it's related to something else. J.A. Wood 42, welcome, and Amber and confabulations galore, welcome. Steve says to Amelia, Dorset is a beautiful part of the country. Citizen Jet says, there is a place here where I used to go alone. It's by a waterfall. The smell from water and nature really makes it easy to feel great. Yeah, I mean, being in nature, that's just like, oh, magic. Godwin, welcome. Andrew says, have you ever watched The Ascent of Man? Agriculture. Yes. No, wait. I'm thinking maybe The Fall of Man, where it talks of our agricultural society mainly came from the hybridization of wheat, negating the need for us to be nomadic. Yes, I think that is a huge problem. Well, it's not a problem. It's just how society developed. Hey, Amber, and G Unique says, meat production is responsible for as much as 50% of greenhouse gases. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. Tinge, welcome. Steve says, how's the time? Remember you started early. Oh, good point, Steve. Good point. Amber says, they say that walking barefoot in the first day. Oh, do they? Okay. And Comedy Mike just joined. Welcome. All right, listen, let's wrap it up because welcome to all the people that just joined. Just so you know, this has been a creativity live chat that we've been doing once a week for... This is the 13th one, I believe. And we talk about all kinds of different topics every week. This week we talked about energy. Last week we talked about leadership. But yeah, so just coming to the end of this one. That was it. Here's something that I wanted to share with you. Just a thought, because this has been quite a general... We talked about energy in general, but not in relation to being a creative. So the one thought I did have around specifically creativity was when to share your work with people, because not that people can't be trusted or anything like that, but just to be mindful of at what point in the stage you share information about what you're doing, because your idea, your creative idea, you have to think of it like a baby really, in the sense that it has a gestation period, and there's a period at the start of a pregnancy where you don't tell people you're pregnant. You know, the first, 3 months, I think, you're not supposed to, people who are superstitious anyways, they don't tell people. And I think it might be the same, not necessarily the same amount of time, but I think it could be the same with your own creative endeavors. Not because it won't make it, well, it might not make it actually, but also because other people's energy, they might be coming from the paradigm of it can't be done, you can't do it, how is that possible, it's not going to work, no one's going to like it, whatever their paradigm is. And if you give them access to your idea before you've built it up to be strong enough to withstand that, their energy might feed enough doubt into your situation that it doesn't make it. So that is one thing from a creative perspective of how important it is to manage energy, is like who you share your ideas with and when. So that was just one specific thought I had in relation to creativity and energy. But guys, thanks again. The time has literally flown by. I don't know if that's the same for you, but I'm getting the countdown. I'm getting the old Instagram countdown. So all I'm going to say is like thank you again everyone for being here. It's been emotion. There's been a lot. We've just covered so much ground, and thank you for your thoughts and comments and questions and all the rest of it as we're going along, because that helps just so much to keep the momentum going. Where I don't know what's gonna happen or be said next, you guys just pick up the conversation and just keep it alive. So it's amazing. Paul says, yes, I was told my latest song attempt was too ambitious. It actually made work harder on the project. However, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, man. And it's not like it won't make it, but it's just that sometimes, and people aren't doing it to be mean. They're doing it because their mindset is too bedded in the ordinary, so that when someone presents a creative endeavor, they're like, it agitates their own spirit. So you need to make sure that your project is robust before it's out there. No worries, Martha. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for being here, Steve. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Andrew. Didn't even check my crib sheet. Oh wait, here we go. Joachim. Thank you for being here. And Adam. I will see you on the gram and see y'all next week. G Unique, Ben, thank you.